Cathedral in the city of Nantes of Saint-Pierre, and we are in the place Saint-Pierre for the start of the Tour de France. Another long day in the saddle as the riders roll out today from Nantes, heading right across Brittany to the Mont Saint-Michel. At least the sun is out and the skies really are blue this morning. What a change from yesterday when the Italian Moreno Argentin broke away near the end and won the stage in very wet conditions. It was a tactic the Ariostia team employed well, and to explain more about that, let's go over to Paul Sherwin.
Yesterday, Moreno Argentin and his Ariostia teammates used a relatively simple tactic which proved effective. Argentin took a few risks in the very wet and slippery conditions to accelerate out of a corner and move clear of the main field. At the same time, his Ariostia teammates gathered together at the front of the bunch. And as you can see, they've partially blocked the road. This had a discouraging effect on all the other riders, as they were unable to organise themselves into a formation to chase down Argentin. As well as blocking the road, the Ariostia team gradually slowed down the pace to allow Argentin to escape. A simple tactic which doesn't always work, but on this occasion, with the assistance of yesterday's dreadful weather conditions, it proved very successful for Argentin.
And here is Moreno Argentin signing on this morning, and he's now lying in 5th place overall in the race, but still over 8 minutes behind the leader, Steve Bauer. Steve Bauer really need only concern himself today by the rider in 2nd place. That's Frans Maassen, the Dutch sprinter. He's 8 seconds back. If Maassen can go out today, pick up a few of the bonus sprints or get a place in the first 3 at the end, then he could be the wearer of the yellow jersey tonight. Let's have a look then at the route we're facing today. It's over 203 kilometres here from Nantes, across the department of Brittany, to a most pretty setting along the causeway in the shadow of the Abbey of Mont Saint-Michel. It's not a difficult ride with hills. It's only in fact reaching a height of 130 metres. But it's going to this most beautiful place. And Gary Imlach is there already, and he'll be reporting back from there later on in the programme. But the riders face a long ride before they reach Mont Saint-Michel, and this morning they set off at precisely 10:45, and by the time they arrived at the first sprint, which came 24 kilometres along the course of Fay de Bretagne, it was the American Davis Finney who won the sprint, surprisingly here, ahead of Olaf Ludwig and the Dutchman Adrie van der Poel. And perhaps the field was enjoying the warmer weather, but after that opening sprint, there hasn't been too much happen today. They're probably also afraid of the long ride of over 300 kilometres tomorrow. But now as we approach the finish, we're coming towards the last 40 minutes of riding for the field. You can see that the riders are beginning to break away at the front of the field. The most active has been the Histor team. And here again now, the riders in the Histor squad. This is Soren Wilholt, who's having a go. A former junior world champion. A little while back, it was his teammate Brian Holm, the Danish champion, who was on the attack. They've definitely got a plan today, the Histor team, because they've been riding near the front most of the day. And now, Paul, they've started to launch a one-on-one attack.
The team obviously has good form, because after the time they did in the team time trial, it goes to prove that there is strength and depth in this team, and obviously it's good for any team to get an early stage victory, because it's good for the morale of the troops. It takes the pressure off a little bit. He looks as if he's really going well here. If you remember last year in the Tour de France, he was one of the aggressive riders, and he's still at the moment trying to set it up. If he gets caught, we'll see one of his teammates attacking, but he's opening up quite a gap already.
Well, that's the biggest gap anybody has got in the last couple of hours of racing, and he's a lone expert if they allow him to go. This is how he wins his races. He has no sprint finish at all, and the finish today really is tailor-made for the sprinter. We go out along this causeway towards the base of Mont Saint-Michel. The wind is tail in the beginning, and then they gently curve around till it is a very strong crosswind, and it will be perfect for a sprinter like, for example, Olaf Ludwig or Uwe Raab.
Well, definitely. We'll probably see later on the Panasonics trying to pull this together, because they weren't very pleased with the break going away yesterday. They obviously didn't want to chase everything down, because if you're the team that does all the work at the start of the tour, once you take the race by the head, by the horns, then you've got to continue.
So this is Wilholt, and here some of his principal performances. 99th in the 1988 Tour de France. no major wins to his credit. He came to the professional scene having been the junior champion of the world. But that 24th place in Paris-Roubaix this year is a very good ride indeed. Now the arrowhead forming at the front. All the red jerseys of Panasonic trying to bring this race back up to Lilholt. He's gone too far ahead, they feel. They're going to try and bring him back because they are thinking of victory for their rider in the green jersey. You can see him down in the centre left of our picture. That's Olaf Ludwig. He's had 10 wins in his first season as a professional this year, and he has yet to score here in the Tour de France. But he's threatening all of the time in the two road race stages we've seen to pull off the big win. But first of all, they've got to bring back Lilholt, and Stephen Roach and his Histor team will be trying to interrupt the chase back in that main field. We'll check on progress, and it's good. The strong wind has returned today, but the sun has stayed with us for all of the ride. And his first check is 11 seconds from the cars down there on the course, and I'm delighted to say no further reports today of demonstrations trying to stop the Tour de France. In fact, the Bretons have turned out literally in their thousands to watch this race. This is the area of France where all of the cyclists tend to come when they want to try and progress in the sport, especially if they're from America or Norway, Scandinavia particularly, or even from Britain. It's the area too where Tommy Simpson came when he came here at the end of the 1950s, and he started in the World Championships and shocked everybody when he finished fourth. This is the bird's eye view, what it's like to ride in the pack in the Tour de France. And you can see the sort of room the riders do manage to create for themselves, even though there's a bunch here of 196 riders. Number 11 on the far side is Laurent Fignon. A quieter day for him today because he fell off yesterday towards the end. He was looking at the back of his elbow there. That's Vincent Barteau, who made his name a couple of years ago, Paul, when he led the Tour de France. I think it was 11 days.
He did. He got in a break a little bit similar to the break that Bauer had. It was 17 minutes clear, and he kept that leader's jersey all the way up into the Swiss mountains. He eventually lost it, but it just goes to show how dangerous it is to let a break like that move away. Back up to the front here, you can see that Lilholt is really suffering to keep that gear going. He's using all the top half of his body to try and push those pedals round and keep away. At the back, the Panasonics will be organising themselves, but I think what they'll do with a lone leader at the moment, he's only 11 seconds clear for the moment, they'll just try and keep him in sight and wait for him to crack.
So the leader continues on. The whole field are chasing him down, but will they catch him? Join us after the break.
Normandy is a pretty breathtaking sight. Not that the riders need any outside assistance after 203 kilometres. And although it's officially the finishing point of today's stage, the finishing line itself was halfway across this causeway that connects the island to the mainland, which is just as well, because Le Mont Saint-Michel only has one street.
And it's not exactly ideal for racing. I don't think the gradient would give the riders too much trouble, but it's not really the right width for a sprint finish. In fact, Le Mont Saint-Michel is tiny. With a population of just 150, there'll be more cyclists than inhabitants here by the end of the afternoon. And when the whole entourage rolls in, they'll be outnumbered by more than 20 to 1. But the fortified abbey has seen it all before. Although this is the first time the Tour has ever stopped here, over the last 12 centuries, Le Mont Saint-Michel has survived invasion from Normans, tourists, and thousands of pilgrims who believe it has special religious significance. Unfortunately, not all of them have survived the journey. The abbey's graveyard is full of those who died trying to cross the treacherous quicksand, or in the tides, which are said to rise faster than a man can run, or cycle for that matter.
That's not the most reassuring thought for the stragglers in today's race as they pedal for home, although to be honest, despite being reasonably long, this isn't exactly the most punishing stage of the Tour. The Peloton might even have time to take in some of the scenery. Back to Phil and the action.
And the whole field meandering through the heart of Brittany, through the beautiful towns now, and the bunch in hot pursuit of the leader, Soren Lilholt. But here, in fact, coming up to Lilholt now after a long chase is Kurt Steinmann from the Wyman team. He had with him originally, in fact, the Colombian rider
William Pulido. He's gone back into the group, Paul, but this will be a good deal of help now for Lilholt.
Well, it will be, but I think things are changing behind as well. Pulido probably saw the writing on the wall, because you've got all the Panasonics at the front chasing, and with a little bit of help from the PDM team. So I think today we may well see a bunch of sprints.
We still have something like 16 kilometres to go to the finish. Steinman has got up here, and I think Lilholt will be glad about that. The crowd's cheering them on, because this has been a marvellous attack by Lilholt. It's lasted now for the last 25 kilometres, and he's been holding off a race that's been moving at around 48 kilometres an hour. And all of the team, the only team in fact doing the chasing, is the Panasonic team, and they are living in hope they can bring these two back, and then it'll be over to Olaf Ludwig to finish it off in the sprint on a very windy causeway down at Mont Saint-Michel. There's the field, Paul.
Field are right behind, so it looks as if this break is really going to be doomed, because you can see Simon's had such a hard chase to catch up Lilholt that he can't really help him at all. Lilholt, I think he's decided I'll go to the back and have a little bit of a break, but you can see the way his shoulders are starting to sag now. I think he's a little bit more resigned than he was before.
Well, he's having a good season, Soren Lilholt. He's won the Grand Prix E3 in Belgium, a stage of the Tour of Valencia in Spain, and a stage of the Tour of Armorique. He's never ever won a stage of the Tour de France, though, and it looks as though he's made his move just a little bit too early. The roads here in Brittany are very long and straight. It's the worst type of road to attack on. You get some idea of the countryside here. It is a beautiful day, and of course many people we know spend the holidays from in Brittany. And in fact, two Scots people I was talking to earlier had come purely to look at Mont Saint-Michel. They had no idea the Tour de France was coming, and they've had to walk over 2 miles to actually see the finish, because the roads have been closed for such a long time.
Well, that's it, Phil. That's the end of the day for Soren Lilholt and Steinman. And now we've got the PDM team on the front here, with the Panasonic team not very far behind there. They'll try and keep the speed up. This part of the course now, you've got a tailwind, so you can see the speed will be moving up to over 30 miles an hour, 35 miles an hour probably, and they'll try and make sure that there are no attacks, because they want the sprinters to sort it out.
What's happened here? There's been a crash, Paul.
Yeah, the crash, as we came down into the corner there, it looks as if one or two riders have gone down there. One of them was Mejia, on the right-hand side with the white helmet on. He's the leader of the Colombian team, one of the 7-Eleven riders there.
Always the risk in the centre of the field. They must have run into that corner at something like 50 kilometres an hour. The 7-Eleven rider here who's in trouble is Ron Kiefel, who was riding so well yesterday. With a bit of luck, he'll get back, but it'll be hard work now. The Panasonics have control of the front of the race. I also noticed there that Uwe Ampler for the PDM team has come up towards the front, the East German on Sean Kelly and Raul Alcala's team. He'll be looking, no doubt, to help Uwe Raab in the big sprint at the finish, because Raab and Ludwig are two of the world's finest finishers, and of course now they are here in professional colours on rival teams. They're no longer teammates on the same East German international team. Both former world road racing champions. Well, Olaf Ludwig, of course, the reigning Olympic champion. And an attack by Bauer. Steve Bauer's having a go, and then goes the green jersey of Ludwig. Ludwig now rewarding his team with all their efforts to get him up here, to make sure nobody's in front, and he's latched onto the back of Steve Bauer. Now just look at this, Paul, the yellow jersey trying to take the race home today.
Well, Bauer's jumping away here to try and get one of the bonifications, but look how easy Ludwig moves past him there on the left-hand side. But Bauer will get second place there and get 4 more bonus points, bonus seconds.
Well, that means that Bauer, having found that Frans Massen wasn't near him, has done something I'm sure the Buckler team didn't expect. He's taken 4 seconds there, so he's moved his overall lead now out to 12 seconds, while Ludwig has done himself the world of good in that green jersey, because it's also worth 4 points for that competition as the most consistent sprinter. So both the leaders of the Tour de France, yellow and green, have increased their leads in that sprint. Now it's a case of settling down for the last few kilometres to the finish. The sprint coming in the town of Pontorson, which is just 9 kilometres from the finish.
And you see there, straight after the sprint, the Panasonic straight back into the front, taking up their role, keeping the speed up. That'll be good for their morale, the fact that Ludwig has just slipped in there and taken that final sprint so easily, and he'll be just in the back there, keeping out of the wind, waiting for the finish.
Third place in that sprint was taken by Mario Kuma, another one of the East Germans in the race, now riding on the Chateau Dax team. The team time trial again being demonstrated here by the Panasonics, who won the team time trial at Futuroscope last Sunday afternoon. And now they're back in the thick of it here, trying to hold this race. Look at the scurrying now, left and right of the centre of the pack. As riders sense a slight lull in the pace, they immediately push their men back up to the front.
It looks, Phil, as if actually that crash has caused a little bit of problem, because there doesn't look to me as if there are 200 riders there. So there will be one or two riders tailed off the back with that little crash, chasing to try and get back. I wonder if we could get down there and see if all the leaders are there. We know that Greg LeMond is there, but can we see Laurent Fignon?
Well, Fignon's been the unluckiest rider so far this tour. He seems to be in one or two tumbles the last couple of days. Oh, we're having a look down here. Let's see. There's obviously a big bunch going to be seen to be chasing. There's about 150 riders, I would think, in that lead field. And there it is. And look at that split. These riders all delayed by that crash and having to get back into the action. Back with the leaders of the Tour de France now. Half of this group here totally unaware of what's going on behind, because the Panasonic team may not even know there's been a crash in this field. 2 kilometers to go now. This race is winding up for the big sprint, and the green jersey of Olaf Ludwig is the rider we would expect to see as they go through and on to the causeway. It is very exposed. The wind will really pick them up as they swing towards the finish in the last kilometer. People have walked literally miles across the causeway today to see the finish. No cars allowed at Mont Saint-Michel today, except the Tour de France, of course. And this is the entry to the causeway, and there the race is gradually trying to reform, as there are two different sections to the Tour de France today going on. There's the race to win the stage, and there's the race by some of the favourites to get back in the main field.
Well, it looks as if it is starting to come back together now. There's a little bit of a slowing at the front. Everybody's teeing up for position, and we get a view from the back here of what it looks like. We can see the Mont Saint-Michel for the first time there, and the riders know that they're going to finish in the bottom there. You can see what I was saying before, with the wind coming from the right-hand side, pushing the riders down the left-hand gut, and it's really dangerous down there, because you can see these feet of these balustrades that stick out. All you have to do is clip one there in about 10th place. Moving up with one of his teammates to his side is the green jersey of Olaf Ludwig. There is the kilometre to go flag.
So the wind now will catch the riders fully from the left of our picture as we look. Now you see the sweep I was talking about, and that's when they will catch the wind at full force. The sprinter who comes soon will lose it for sure, because he won't survive the last 100 metres or so. Ludwig was in fact on the outside of the bunch, so he's going to take the full force. You see the sweep as the wind comes from the left of our picture. It will be critical as to when you hit the front, as that road straightens out, because just below the Abbey itself is the finishing line, and the field coming along now, as they have done all day, at around 45, 50 kilometres now. Ludwig is on the right of our picture now. His team has done the job. Can he finish it off? He's hit the front very, very early on, as Olaf Ludwig, unusually so, has hit the front. He might have made a mistake of going too soon, because he's been washed away there in the sprint, and I think he's misread this Olaf Ludwig as he goes up towards the line. I think, in fact, a small group may have slipped off the front of the field here. Ludwig comes again now. Olaf Ludwig is taking on the sprint towards the finishing line, but we have Ludwig on the line. He's going to lose it, and he's been pipped on the line by one of the riders from the Lotto team. I think it was Johan Museo who took him over the line. Museo, and that will go down as the finest sprint he's ever produced, Johan Museo. But he read that finish spot on, and in fact Ludwig did not. He hit the front far too soon. Here is the next group finishing a few seconds behind, led home by Thierry Marie, and Pedro Delgado is in that group. He's lost a few seconds, but as they come in, there's no sign, in fact, of Laurent Fignon finishing in that group. Jean-Francois Bernard has just come in. He's lost a few seconds. Sean Yates was alongside him, and I still don't see Laurent Fignon, so unless Laurent Fignon is coming now, he's only just crossed the line now. He's lost seconds as well. And as we come up to the line here on the replay, you can see Musiu well clear, and Ludwig in the green absolutely blown out of it, struggling all the way up to the finish. Finney on the far shoulder, and in second place there, it looked like Bontempi of the Carrera team.
Well, here is the result. A win then for Johan Musiu of Belgium and the Lotto team. He read the finish better than Olaf Ludwig, who was pushed back into third place, and Bontempi finishing second. Now we can go down to Paul Sherwin, who's found the man of the day, Greg LeMond, the world champion, who really has profited by the surprise end to this race.
Greg, a very dangerous day today. Is that why we saw so much of you up near the front?
Yeah, of course. In the Tour de France, you have to race in the top 30 all the time. You can't, there's no time for relaxation.
And how do you feel about what's happened to Delgado and Fignon today? Delgado was 20 seconds behind and Fignon another 44.
Well, it's part of the race. I mean, I've lost many seconds too in crashes, but I haven't seen them that much in the front, so it's a little bit their fault. I never quit the top 20 place.
Did you know there'd been a crash with those riders behind you?
Oh yeah, I heard there was. No, I didn't know it was a crash. I heard there was a split. I figured it was going to split just because of the side wind. So, but I stayed in the front and got to do.
And I can confirm that Laurent Fignon has finished in the third bunch of riders, 44 seconds back. And in the second bunch of riders was Pedro Delgado, and also in there Franz Masson. And that has cost him his second place overall in the race. These are the overall standings tonight. Steve Bauer slightly increasing his lead because of that bonus sprint out on the course. And Masson dropping back into third place, while Ronan Pensek comes up into second. But the top 5 overall haven't changed at all. But LeMond will be happy tonight. He's gained time on the men he regards as his real principal rivals, Fignon and Delgado.